Hello, everybody. It's a wonderful Monday here in Miramichi. We're with the Rogers Studio for Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loche, joined by my very special co-host, beautiful Veronique Arsenault.
So glad to always be here with you on Mondays, Judy, and it's hard to believe, but it's snowing.
It snowed today. Yes, it did. And it's Halloween this week, actually tomorrow, even though you might be tuning into the show later in the week. We're taping live. So happy Halloween, everybody. Be safe. All of you little kids and parents, enjoy yourself, and happy birthday tomorrow, which will be my son's 32nd birthday, Evan. Happy birthday. And my son Trent, my nephew, not my son, my nephew Trent will be 16.
I can't believe it.
I know. So son and nephew celebrating big birthdays. Blessings to you both. And we have a very special guest who was on years ago, actually joining us today, Natasha Russell. And it's been so long that I'm sure some of the audience will forget your story with your daughter and your journey with her as she goes through this very unbelievable story of living with a serious heart condition. So, before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself again for those who may not know you, Natasha.
I'm Natasha Russell, born and raised in Napan. My husband and I both born and raised in Napan. We've been married for 16 years, have 3 children. Jesse and Jaden are twins who will be 16 in December, and Jake will be 13 in January.
Awesome. I keep forgetting Jesse's a twin.
Yes, yeah.
And it's hard to believe that she was on years ago and she was just a little girl.
Yeah, I know, and it's funny because I of course hadn't seen Natasha since then, you know, other than out in the community, and forgot that Jesse and she had been on because it's been such a long time.
So she's all grown up now too.
Yeah, I'm not though. I'm not. But take us back to that very first time that your daughter experienced an episode with her heart, and like talk about her heart stopping, the airlift to the IWK, just having to be there for a month. Like how terrifying.
She, as far as we were aware, she was a perfectly healthy 8-year-old child. So on New Year's Eve of 2015, we were just at home with my brother and sister-in-law and their children. And of course the kids were all excited, showing them gifts and stuff they had gotten for Christmas, playing games, things like that. And us adults were all sitting out in the living room, and the kids came out, and there was, they turned to the TV on, or music was playing on the TV, and I'll never forget the song that was playing. Uptown Funk was the song.
Oh goodness.
And they started just jumping and dancing around, and we were just laughing. You know, they were typical kids showing off. She quickly turned towards us and just collapsed. Wow. There was no warning, there was nothing. She just collapsed. So initially we kind of, you know, all sat there for a second thinking, well, what happened?
She fainted.
You know, she fainted. Yeah. Did she bang her head maybe on the chair when, you know, she stumbled? But she had collapsed right at my husband's feet. So when he reached to turn her over, I knew instantly that something was very wrong. She was already turning blue. I knew she wasn't breathing. Yeah. So in my panic, I remember I couldn't find our house, our cordless phone, so I think I used my niece's cell phone, I believe, called 911, but not only for some reason did I think it was in my mind, I wanted to call my brother as well, who's a local paramedic. So as I'm on the phone, the cell phone with 911, I found my house phone and called him. So I had both phones to each ear. And I remember he was listening to me talking to the 911 dispatcher, and he was saying, what do you mean? What do you mean they're doing CPR on Jesse? Because my sister-in-law had started CPR before I had even placed the call. Oh, wow. So as the 911 dispatcher was instructing me what to do, I said, no, we've already started. Like CPR has already started. And I remember my brother initially saying, "Stop. Like, what do you mean you're doing CPR on Jessie?
On an 8-year-old,
she's
right?
8.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, of course.
it can't be. She doesn't need CPR." But as the conversation went on, he quickly realized that something was very, very wrong. So at that time, I didn't realize, but it took 18 minutes for the ambulance to get to home, which we were very lucky because they were stationed in Chatham.
Yes.
I believe they were at a gas station when they
Must
got the
have
call.
seemed like an eternity,
Yeah.
regardless.
It was the longest 18 to 20 minutes of our lives. We were gradually starting to lose ground, you know, because I kept saying, I was probably yelling at that time, you know, where are they? Yeah. What's taking them so long to get here, you know? But a lot of things fell into place that night. Willard Jardine, a paramedic that works out of Bay St. Anne, heard my 911 call and knew that Ian Hallahan was on his way home from Bay St. Anne to Lower Newcastle and knew that he would be passing by our house. So he called Ian and said, "You have to get to this address as fast as you can. They're starting to lose ground." And poor Ian at the time, the closer he got to home, he said he realized where he was going. He knew my husband and stuff. So he actually came in and took over chest compressions until the paramedics arrived, and they delivered one shock and were able to get a rhythm back. So the three of them transported her to our local hospital, and within just a few hours she was airlifted.
Wow. Goosebumps and chills, and I'd be hysterical. I know I would be. I don't know if I'd be numb, but I think, well, you're obviously
I was numb. I was numb. They allowed Dr. Sarah Campo, Dr. Carter now, at the time was the nurse, or the doctor on. She was absolutely phenomenal.
She is.
The nurses, Andrea, Paul, McCoy, they were unbelievable, but I was numb. I was like they allowed my brother to go in with her. We were in the family room waiting. He told me later that he dreaded having to come out to face me because he figured he would have to peel me off the ceiling. But he said when I walked in, there was just nothing. Like you were just...
you weren't even kind of...
You were in shock.
No. Yeah.
So Natasha, take us to, because we have so many questions and we want to keep you here all day, but we can't. Yeah. So we're just going to keep moving. When they airlifted her to Halifax, that would be the IWK hospital. Tell us what happened then, because obviously it's an 8-year-old, and this cannot be a common occurrence to have a child in this situation with such an extreme, harsh situation.
Yeah, so at that time, we still didn't realize it was her heart. Like, because again, at 8, you don't think, like, this is impossible for an 8-year-old to have. I wasn't really officially told anything in Miramichi. So when we arrived, Dr. Soder, who was the head of the PICU at that time down there, seen me, and that's when he kind of confirmed, or he suspected it was heart related. And of course that was New Year's Day, so Dr. Dillon's resident was then on, so we seen him first, Dr. Adnan, and he did some tests. She was still on life support at that point. I remember he was doing an echo on her in the ICU, and she started to, I didn't realize at the time, but she started to try to breathe over the life support, the vent, and I started to panic because she had tubes and everything down her throat, and I'm saying, well, you know, she's choking, and he said, no, he said, this is a very good sign because she's attempting to breathe on her own.
Thank God.
So Dr. Soder didn't want to leave her any more than 24 hours, and he wanted to extubate her. But at that time, he still didn't know what the outcome of that would be. He didn't know if she would breathe on her own. He didn't know if she would survive, really, at that point. So I remember him looking at us and saying, as parents, I'm not going to ask you to leave this room while I do this. But sometimes, he said, it's better if you do. So my brother was there at that time because I had flown down with her, so he brought my husband down. And I asked him to stay with her. And we went to the family room, and it was a decision that my husband and I made. And he said, I'll come out as soon as I have something I can tell you, like something to tell you. So it was a few years later before my brother even shared this with me that he said it was the hardest thing he's ever had to do in his life, because she started to do something that they call modeling when she was coming out of it. So that's a sign of, could be a sign of traumatic brain injury. And he said to me, he said, I just stood over and said, please God, if she's going to be like this, just take her.
Yes.
And so like he it was a while before he shared that with me. Anyway, they extubated her. She was breathing on her own. He came out to get us, to bring us back in, and it was about an hour later, she kind of started to move and make like movements and whatever. So I said, Jessie, can you hear me? I said, Mom and Dad are here. Can you hear me? And she said, I'm just so tired, and rolled over.
But what a relief to hear those words.
Right. And the nurse, the male nurse at that time looked at me and said, she's going to be okay.
Oh my goodness.
What a blessing.
Yeah. But
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine the toll it took on you at the time. You know, and you both work.
Yeah.
You have other children, especially a twin.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about how you navigated those feelings and all that you were going through while still trying to, you know, keep your other children
and working.
Yeah.
Like, how did you manage that?
it was really hard. The first time Jesse and Jaden had ever been separated, ever, was during that time. It was very, very hard on him. Sure. I remember them saying, like, and really was never one to sleep over at grandparents' houses. They were just homebodies. They were with us all the time. So I remember them saying, like, he was falling asleep in class in the daytime and things like that. That was really hard. You know, being separated for close to a month, my father brought them down because they, of course, wanted to work them up as well, to investigate their heart, especially him being her twin.
Yes.
They really wanted to investigate to see if there was other issues, underlying issues.
And there was not with your other children?
Her twin is perfectly fine. My youngest has the same condition. It was found to have the same condition the following summer.
Isn't that something? You're a little warrior, Natasha. Can I just say that? Like superwoman, because I'm telling you, your children, you know, anyone out there that is a parent knows that they're your whole world, right? So I just want to know about the situation as far as when she left there. She was only 8 years old, you said? Okay, so they couldn't do surgery at that young age, I'm assuming, because of her stature.
Yeah, Dr. Dillon, her cardiologist, of course, in some circumstances, they have implanted ICDs in children as young as 2, but it was literally like a matter of life and or death, like for these children. But it's really a last resort because she was so small. There wouldn't be enough flesh up in her chest to implant a device because they don't make devices to fit children. They're one size, right? So the stipulation in order to take her home then was we had to have a portable AED machine in our possession, and we had to know how to use it.
Oh my gosh.
So they put us through some pretty rigorous training. They weren't easy on us, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to know that I knew what I was doing, that I was, you know, I felt confident in what I was doing because her life literally depended on us.
So you, Jeff, you and Jeff had to carry that around at all times.
Everywhere. It had to be with her wherever she went.
So did the teachers have to be involved?
Yes.
And everyone had to be involved with on-board knowledge as to how the AED, right?
Works,
Like a defibrillator.
Yeah, and for us as parents to have to be able to trust somebody else.
Yeah. Oh.
To do what needed to be done to save her life.
Can't even imagine.
How long was it before she went back to school?
This happened, it was the spring.
Yeah.
It was early spring then, and that was really hard for me to allow her to go back because I didn't let her out of my sight.
No.
I didn't. I
terrified?
slept with her, and I knew at one point at 8 years old, she said to me one night when we were laying in bed, she said, "Are you ever going to go back to your own bed?" Like, as if to say, like, I'm ready for you to go back.
Oh, but
I'm done with you, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So no, it was really hard, and I'll admit they let me stay. They let me sit in the staff room when she first went back. Gradually, things like that, which helped me too. And then it gradually got to she had a very good EA. Yeah.
Good to know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So let's fast forward a bit. And so, it's been, 8 years now. She's going to be 16 soon. And talk to us about the last few months and the scary scenario that Jessie's been going through.
Well, the last 2 years, really. So they implanted an ICD when she was 10.
Okay.
And even then, she was still quite little. So the surgeon had to actually make a pocket in her abdomen for the generator when she was 10. Yeah. So she had that done. But then coming into the summer of 2021, the lead to the right ventricle of her heart fractured and malfunctioned, which meant that the device had to be removed. And then there was talk of a new one having to be implanted.
You hold that thought. There is so much more to come with Natasha Russell talking about her daughter Jessie and this heart condition that she lives with. Don't go far. We have more Have a Chat very shortly. Hello, and thank you for joining us for more Have a Chat. Again, I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loche, joined by Veronique Arsenault, who's always my favorite sidekick, co-host today. And we have been having a wonderful, enlightening conversation with Natasha Russell, who has been talking about her journey with her daughter, Jessie, who has a very serious and interesting heart condition. So we may continue on.
Yeah, so Natasha, we were just talking about it just before the break, and you were sharing that a section of it failed in 2021, the device that she had implanted when she was 10. So let's pick up there again. So is it a ventricle?
No, it's the lead to the that goes to the heart that would deliver like a shock or whatever if needed, fractured and broke.
And mom has a pacemaker and a defibrillator and a synchronization device in her heart. So
mom too has a lead and a pacemaker.
So I understand a bit of it.
Same thing. Very same thing.
I don't understand much of it, but I understand some of it.
Yeah. So it broke. So she came down the hall and she said, "I'm beeping." And I said, "What do you mean you're beeping?" And she said, "I just beeped."
Oh, goodness.
And I said, "Well, are you sure it wasn't the TV, or are you sure it wasn't you're on your phone?" No, she said, "I beeped." And so I said, "Well, we don't hear anything now, but what we didn't know was that it would beep every hour on the hour as a warning to indicate." So it beeped again. And then I said, okay, I heard that. So she really panicked because she's like, okay, something's malfunctioning inside me. Is something going to happen?
Yeah.
So I made the call to Halifax, and Dr. Dillon was away at that time. So Dr. Chen, one of the other cardiologists, said, "No, from what you're describing, it seems like it's malfunctioning. So you'll have to come. You'll have to come down."
A 4-hour drive.
Right. But we didn't go that night. So she beeped.
Oh, every hour?
Every hour on the hour. So it was lunchtime before he met us in the Heart Center the next day. and it's loud. It's very loud, very loud beep. There's no mistaking it. So because Dr. Dillon is the electrician of the heart at the IWK and he was away, we had to go to the infirmary, to the adult hospital to see an electrician over there.
Yes, yeah. I've heard those terms before, actually, funny enough.
Yeah. He says he's the plumber and the electrician of the heart. They killed the device at that time, which they can just run a wand over and totally disable it, because they were scared it would give her inappropriate shocks.
Right. Because, and for those out there, and I only learned this because of Mom, but it is meant to be like the paddles, but inside. Yes. So that it will kickstart your heart if it thinks that your heart has stopped.
Yes, that happened to her once at school.
Oh wow.
On the playground. So yeah, they liken it to getting kicked in the chest by a horse. Like it takes you right to the ground.
We heard the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what did they do?
So they said, well, you're not going home. You cannot go home until there's a new one implanted. So they decided to put a different type, Boston Scientific, subcutaneously, which means just under the skin, under her left arm. And it went okay, and we came home for about 2 weeks, and I knew things were starting to open up. So I knew something was wrong. So when we went back down, there was infection in it. So he said, no, we have to remove it.
Oh, goodness. But she's been through so much.
Yeah, but then infection had also got into the original wound on her chest, where he had to open it to remove the old one. So we were there for 60 days.
I can't even imagine, Natasha, not to mention that you work full-time and that your family's at home, and that she's not been to school yet, has she?
No, she hasn't been to school this year yet.
No. Well, no wonder. I mean, health is everything. Education, you can always become educated, but health, it's like, if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah, it was too much of a risk.
So infection in 2 places.
Yes. Yeah, in 2021. So she had, since 2021, she has had 23 heart procedures done in the OR.
Oh, I want to cry.
Yeah. So there was, in 2021, he was taking her to the OR every second to third day.
Goodness.
Yeah. So to try to get control of the infection, to stop it from getting into her heart, they applied vac machines and things like that to both sites to try to close, because her chest or her side wouldn't close either properly. So
it's a nightmare, really.
I can't even imagine how I can't even imagine how you continue to navigate it all. And the toll it must take on your mental health, but her mental health as well.
Yeah. She remained very positive with them. Not so much me.
No, because you're her safe place.
They always said it's because she's a teenager.
Right.
If I suggested something, or I thought, well, I suspect maybe they will do this. No, they're not going to do that. But if she has so much trust in her team that if he came in and told her to do a handstand, she wouldn't question it.
Right.
Just whatever he decided, that's what had to be done. And she stayed positive through, very emotional, very hard going to the OR every second to third day, but they were unbelievable.
Yeah, you were saying that off air, that they have been an incredible team of health professionals.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she must be very mature, though. Do you have those deep conversations with her about this?
Absolutely.
She wants to know, and there's certain things that she probably doesn't need to know, but that she should be aware of.
Yes, and he actually just this past summer he said to her, "You're now old enough to sign your own surgical consent form for me to do what I have to do." So along with me, she signed that. So that was a big step, but. Yeah, she asks the questions.
Good.
She asks some questions that I'm sure they'd prefer maybe not, but they're answered. They answer every one of them. That was the biggest thing I was always told. Don't lie to her, and don't hide anything from her. Be completely honest
that's interesting.
about everything.
That's hard to give it as it is, the hard news. But more recently, Veronique, you've been with her at home now. Do you want to kind of catch us up to that point because of the time we have left?
Yeah. So he puts a lot of trust and confidence in her parents. We are not doctors. Yeah. But he says, I'll train you. You'll know how to do this. You watch me. I wasn't necessarily too anxious to want to see into an open chest, especially my own child.
No.
But he said, as parents, we do what we have to do. Yeah. And I have help from the extramural at home too, which is wonderful. But there's been situations where I've had to do it. Waking up at midnight because the vac machine's malfunctioning and the tube is plugged, or the canister. So troubleshooting that, trying to navigate that while she's kind of panicking, because again, I'm not them.
That's true. It's my mom, and I don't know if I trust her. But you're so calm, Natasha, and you just jump right in there, and I know your character, and you're very strong.
Yeah. So, it's he sends me home with all the medical supplies that I need. And I was very thankful she wasn't sent home with her chest tube, her drain. He was going to send us home for Thanksgiving with that, with the, you can handle that.
Oh, dear.
But, dear. Yeah, but it was removed the day we came home, so I was very thankful for that. But the wound was left open. So I was, I had to change dressings and,
So she's home right now.
Yeah.
And everything's going as you would expect.
Everything's going right now in the right direction. Okay. So we've been to this point before where things have shifted and gone the other way. So she's very, she's not quick to say, things are moving, and the whole team knows that with her they don't say that.
Right.
They just, things are, we're moving in the right direction, but, let's throw some salt over our shoulder or something, bang on wood.
I know, just day to day, but we're just hoping and praying that everything continues to go in the right direction, that you can figure all of this out with those professionals in Halifax.
Yes, and they're putting her into medical research programs. They're trying very, very hard. They're working very hard to get to the bottom of it.
But it has to be that you've gotten so close to that team of hers, right? Yes. Like, and incredible nurses and doctors and LPNs and all of those things. What do they mean to you as a family?
They're family now. We've usually a surgeon, a typical surgeon, you go see him a day or two before your procedure. You see him for a day or two after, and you never see them again. He's been a part of our lives for 6 years. So even when she goes down to the IWK and she's just there for a regular checkup with Dr. Dillon, she'll always ask, is Dr. Horn here? Because she wants to see him too. Whether it's just a quick hug, how are you doing? It's good to see you, because you miss them. And people might, if you've never had much dealings with the IWK, it can be a very intimidating spot. But with us, when Jesse and I walk through the doors there, we're not usually in the doors a minute, and we're running into nurses and things that are calling her by name. And,
what a beautiful welcome.
It feels like home.
And it's become, but it's a good thing and a bad thing.
It's a good thing. Yes, it's the pressure is lifted off of me going through the doors there, because it's like, okay, we're with our people.
Yes,
we're with the best of the best.
How many trips, how many times in the last years have you been to Halifax? Like I said, it's an 8-hour drive return.
Yeah.
It's not a jump in your car and get there. It's a long drive.
Yeah, and sometimes I do that in a day.
And you just go whenever you have to. It's just pick up, your suitcase is probably ready.
I have a suitcase packed at all times at home with everything that we need, so that I know that I can just grab. Because I've been at work at 12 o'clock, 12:30, and gotten a phone call from them saying, be here as soon as you can be here, he'll be waiting.
They monitor everything from there.
Yeah, like and pictures, like daily pictures I send, things like that. He can watch that very close, and he listens to me.
Good.
He trusts my judgment. Yeah, he trusts my judgment, and he knows that if I'm calling with concerns, then he's concerned.
What a great mom. I do want you to tell our viewers and us as well, Veronique and I, the importance of first aid and CPR, because to me that would be so crucial in having.
Yes. I've sat in many CPR, first aid and CPR classes where, you know, you feel, oh, it's just something I got to do. It's a waste of time. I'm giving a weekend up to do this, or, you know, I'm required to do this for work. But when you see it save your own child's life, you have a different outlook and a different, you know, you don't look at it the same again. It is so, so important for everyone. And I remember saying to Dr. Dillon at one time, you know, we have all these prenatal classes that we go to when we're becoming parents and, you know, whatever. And I said, why is it not mandatory that we're taught what to do if our child chokes, an infant, or CPR? Right. You know, because a lot of us, depending on our jobs and stuff, may not have that training at all. And he said, well, I'm working really hard to make that mandatory.
Oh, that's
hard.
hard.
Most wouldn't know.
Most wouldn't know. No. So it's when you look at it from a different aspect that you see a lot of, like, wow, that really, you know, you're sent home with a new baby, but you don't know what to do if they're choking. You don't know, you know, like, let's make it mandatory. Absolutely. You know. And in schools, not everyone has to be trained in schools. There's an X amount of staff, you know, that are trained and things like that. And a lot of people are under the impression, well, this will never happen to a child.
Right, of course.
But
it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
So obviously there's nothing you wouldn't do for Jessie or the other children that you have, your other wonderful children, but do you ever have time on your own? Do you ever have your own time or time with your husband?
Not really. No. It's the concern, the worry never goes away, you know. So we just
always at the front of your mind.
Always. If she steps out of your sight and you sing out to her and she doesn't answer me right away, well, initially you just automatically go there. Like, is she down?
Has she collapsed?
Has she collapsed?
Yeah.
Is, you know, she gets quite frustrated with me at times if there's not an immediate answer, and she'll say, well, Mom, and I'll say, no, you have to answer me. Like, you know.
So you're walking on eggshells basically all of the time.
Yeah, it's a stress that I wouldn't wish on anyone, really.
No. But you know, at the IWK, I've never been inside the building, that they get the most wonderful reputation, and people that support that are supporting a very wonderful facility, right?
Yes.
And when it comes to your own child now, you see the importance as to why they do so many fundraisers and talk about the benefits of the IWK and the teams there. Anything in our last few minutes you want to talk about? Let's just go with what you're most proud of, because it's been a long, long time, regarding yourself and Jessie. What are you most proud of about Jessie?
Her resilience. Able to accept anything that's really thrown at her, you know, that way. The trips to the OR really took a toll on her mentally, but she got to the point where, you know, she would have to be medicated prior to going in to try to relax her and things like that. But she was so proud this summer because she got to the point where she would walk into the OR with them on her own. And she had her favorite people there too. Dr. Moulton is one of the cardiac anesthesiologists who I like to say Dr. Horm had probably a pretty big hand in facilitating that. She was probably one of the ones that was always there.
Isn't that wonderful?
Him himself, I've thanked him countless times for showing us his human side, and sharing his life with us. And like the day she came back from the OR and woke up, and she said, you know, she said, when I went in, she said he was waiting for me and helped me up on the table and told everyone in there how brave I was and everything I've been through, and that I should write a book.
Well, she should.
Yeah.
And you should.
And for him to do that, that's you know, that says a lot. It's a connection, and she'll never forget that. But her resilience. And as a parent, for anyone that thinks they can't do it,
you can.
You can.
In the last minute, all I want to say to our viewers is we're extremely proud of Natasha and Jessie and Jeff and the boys. And there's a site that she formed online, and it's called And the Beat Goes On, which I follow so that she can give updates to people, friends, and family, because you certainly can't be on the phone updating them and texting all the time as to how she's doing.
No,
so this allows people, your forum, to be very updated, and I appreciate reading it so much because I genuinely care about Jessie and you. And all I can say is good luck, and if you want to invite more people to And the Beat Goes On, they can follow Jessie's story.
Yes.
You're amazing.
Absolutely.
So don't go too far, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Natasha Russell, for being our guest. And we have another guest coming right up. So go grab a beverage on this chilly day and come back for more Have a Chat. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, for another segment of Have a Chat. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Veronique Arsenault.
She's always good for the ego.
No,
sure.
she's a joy to be with every day. Every time we come on the show for the last 9 years, it's a pleasure to have Veronique with me. And we had a great conversation with Natasha Russell, and talking about her daughter, Jessie, and their journey with heart health. It was just empowering to hear how well they're doing. And now we have another wonderful guest. He hasn't been on for a long time.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while, and it's
time.
Eugene Fowler, better known to Veronique and I as Gene, we call him, and he is owner of Lougarou Cartoons and Games. Sounds like so much fun.
Oh, it's not bad.
So we know you, but for the viewers who don't know you, tell us a few things about yourself.
Born and raised here in Miramichi back in the 70s. My parents were snowbirds who owned a restaurant just out on Highway 11 near Black River.
Oh, really?
And
I don't think I knew that.
You didn't know that?
No,
I don't think I did
The
either.
restaurant was called Fallenwood.
Okay.
And it was a campground and restaurant, and it was open from May to September. And then in September, my dad used to pack his kids up into a cool Chevy van and hightail it down to Florida for the winter.
Lucky.
Very cool.
Right? So I spent a lot of time at Disney World.
I bet you did.
And there you go, right? There it all
The
connects
little
in.
light bulb went.
Right?
Segue.
Right? So
Yeah.
being around Walt Disney World, right, and being just enthralled with the cartoons, this was it. I knew I was going to have it. I knew I was going to do it. So,
Really? That young?
Yep.
That's amazing.
That's
Yeah.
incredible for
Right.
anyone that doesn't know. He's extremely gifted.
Yeah.
My mom's watching the show, and she'll say she hopes she taught you something, but I think you might have probably taught her a few things too.
No, she was so lovely in class, man. She was
Yeah.
really
Leona is lovely.
Yeah.
She is, yeah.
And you have 3 beautiful sons.
cool. Well, yeah, they're growing up, I tell you. Yeah.
Hard to imagine, eh?
Yeah.
Time passes so quickly, and it's hard to imagine. But so talk to us about Lougarou.
Oh yeah.
When you started that, and we know that you were a little bit inspired by Disney, but talk to us about Lougarou.
Well, Lougarou was a continuation of a business I had here about 15 years ago. For about 6 years, I had Fat Cat, and it grew. It was humongous,
Right.
humongous
Yeah.
studio.
Yes.
We grew really quick.
Yeah.
And then the bottom fell out of the economy, and the bottom fell out of us too.
Yeah.
But I'm only good at a few things, so I kept on going. And luckily, my partner Jessica Beckett, she joined me and had faith in me again that I could do it again. And so now, 15 years in, we have a staff of just 10 to 12. We're real small.
Amazing.
But we employ a lot of freelancers around New Brunswick and around the country. So in total, I think we're around 35, 40 of us. And we make kids cartoons. And yeah, that's it. We're hired guns, man. We're like a little garage band pirate ship, and we're guns for hire.
That's a lot of people involved in that.
Yeah,
It is.
it's a big operation, and kudos to my partner Jess because she manages it all.
Oh, my heavens.
She is the show runner.
And where are you actually based, or where are you located?
We're located over Mill Cove Coffee downtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people come to you, or do you do a lot of online communication, collaboration with your teammates, where there's that many?
There's about 10 or 12 of us down in the shop.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
the skeleton crew is there, and the key people are there.
Okay.
Right? But the animators are all freelance, and they work from home. Everybody works from home. But
yes, they
we
do.
still work out of the shop.
Yes.
Except for Fridays. We're one of those places that we don't work Fridays.
Good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's
the way to
really
go.
good idea.
I agree.
So I'm going to pop these on because I wanted to ask you, creating animation requires a lot of creativity, a lot, okay? And I don't have it.
No.
And innovation.
Me either.
So my question is, how do you and your team come up with unique ideas for your various projects?
It's living life.
Living life?
It really is. I mean, you can't make stuff for people unless you know people. So you got to get out. You got to get out there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a story. When I had Fat Cat and I was pitching shows and going to all these TV conferences and stuff like that, and I was trying to pitch our own shows, I didn't have enough life experience to really know what to pitch. You know, like I had entertaining ideas, but what was the message to tell people, right?
Yeah.
And I had a broadcaster ask me that, like, what are you trying to say? And I really didn't know, because I was just trying to make everybody laugh, right?
Interesting though that you know that was the question. Like what is it that you want to say?
Well, it's called programming for a reason.
Right.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I said to myself, well, I'm gonna go lick my wounds a little bit and go back to service work and really learn the craft, and then really like try to get more life experience. So I had some kids. And
that'll do it.
And, right, had been through a couple marriages, right? That'll do it too, right? And learn everything the hard way as you should, right?
Yep.
And now I know what to tell the kids, and it's to stop watching TV and get outside, right? Basically.
Just quickly, did they inherit your extreme talent? Any of them? Like the animation part?
I have two biological sons, and they both got it.
Oh, good.
They both got it,
Oh,
but they
nice.
both refused to do it.
Ah.
Right. So
Right now.
Well, right now. So my eldest, my 16-year-old Gavin, he's just like me, but so much better in every way.
Oh, I love that kid.
But he does. Oh, dude, everybody loves him.
I love him.
Gav's a star.
Yeah.
And he can draw, and he has the entertainment industry in him, but he'll find his expression soon enough, right?
Good enough.
And then with Oliver, my 8-year-old, he's a star too, right? And he's starting so much younger than Gav. And he's got music, he can write 4-bar melodies all day long, plays the piano at home, and he sings, he knows all the words, and
A creator as well.
oh
yeah,
my
isn't
God,
that beautiful?
is he? And he can draw too, man. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and you want them to find their way.
That's
right.
right.
You don't
That's
want
right.
to. Yeah, I mean, I hope that they use their talents in the same way that you have, but you want them to find their way.
And they will.
Yeah.
They will. I
Yes.
can't force
They're
them.
young.
Oh, they are young. And I cast a big shadow, and I get that.
Yes.
Right? So, and my dad cast a big shadow on me, and my cousin Mikey, who's the world's fastest drummer. Like, I wasn't going to get into music.
Oh, I love drums.
Right? When he was, like, just decimating the family in music, and my father, you know, playing guitar behind his head and all that kind of stuff. Like,
It's all in there, the genes.
Right.
Literally, no pun intended.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in
So
the
I went
genes.
art, and they went music, right? But
Yeah.
my kids won't go art. They might go music.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll go somewhere else.
Right.
So
Yeah,
who
you
knows?
never know.
Yeah, just encourage them the best I can.
So, animation, TV programming, all those things are really known for engaging characters. And you've got decades of work now behind you. What are some of the favorite characters that you've brought to life?
Well, we're Guns for Hire, right? So we don't really make any of our own stuff, but we bring other people's dreams, you know, to reality. And some of the characters that we've worked on, well, Family Guy, we did about 8 minutes of Family Guy, but we drive that like we own it.
Yes.
Right? Right?
I love one. I have watched Family Guy
That
for
was
a
a
long time.
lot of fun
Yeah.
to watch those characters come to life on our screen,
Yes.
like as we're making it.
Yeah.
Happy Tree Friends, we did Happy Tree Friends, the TV show. That was a big thing. That's one of the most notable projects that I've worked on, and everybody seems to know it.
Yeah.
Like so, it's really fun to get recognized as that guy. We did Caillou, and I apologize for that.
I knew about Caillou, but I wasn't sure you'd bring it up.
That brat man, oh my goodness! But I mean, we did a season of Caillou. That was fun.
Yes.
And we did other shows too, Odd Job Jack, and we did some Minions work, which was
Really?
really cool. Yeah, yes. A client from California hit us up one time and said, "Hey, could you handle this?" And they were just shorts for, I think, for the silver screen, I think. And 2 minutes long, but you know, they're really fun. Lots of character, lots of personality and stuff.
Yeah.
Super fun, man.
I love the Minions. They're one of my
Are they?
favorites.
Yeah, I still like Caillou.
Ah, do you? I get it.
But you know what? Everybody knows Caillou, right?
Yeah, that's true, man.
You know, they might
Yep.
find him annoying as all heck, but they
Yeah.
all know him.
All ages too.
Yeah,
All ages.
absolutely.
So animation can also be a medium for conveying, you know, very strong messages about life lessons and all of that. What do you think? What are some, you know, situations that you would think would have the greatest impact out there
Well, Jesus.
in that sense?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure if I have anything to answer with that.
Oh, yes, you do.
I don't know. Like, I mean, animation, it reaches such a young audience so easily, right? Because of colors and everything, and you can pre-plan it,
Yeah.
right? So if you have something to say to the populace, you know, you can, if you're careful about it, you can really weave it into it, and a lot of people will watch it because it's so engaging.
That's right.
Right, so I don't know if there's any, like I'm a hired gun, so you come to me, tell me what you need the people to think or what they need to absorb, and then I marry your budget
Right.
to this time I have to do it,
Yeah.
coupled with the visual style that I know your audience will resonate with.
Yeah,
right?
no, I know you're making an impact. It just that there might be, certain.
Well, and you know what I find truly fascinating, and I said this, one of those Facebook memories popped up, right? And I was watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon from 1942.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, the message is actually still really valid.
Yeah, some of
you
them.
know,
I know.
and it's and I find with animation particularly, it resonates with everybody, right? Like I love a good cartoon movie. Yeah. And I will pay good money to go see one.
That's good.
And
But
I know
you expect them to be great.
yes, absolutely. And it does resonate with everybody in some way, whether it takes them back to their childhood or if it's
Beep beep, the round right.
Best cartoons going, man, are those.
Right, yeah, and it brings you back to that Saturday morning with your bowl of cereal and
so
Saturday
true.
morning, cartoons. But and it's such a gift that I truly believe you give such a gift to the world when you animate something, because whether it's somebody else's idea or yours, you bring that to life, and I think that's amazing because it sticks with all of us in some way or another.
Be forever.
Yeah. I
Creator
think
of
it's
pop culture.
yeah. How do you balance that though? Like to make it engaging. And I know that you are typically bringing other people's ideas to life, but how do you make it engaging? Because most cartoons, if we're honest, adults take their kids to see, and especially the Disney. There's always some good adult content in there as well.
Oh yeah,
like
Barbie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's how do you balance that in your own life, but also with the animation that you're putting out there?
Well,
Good question.
You have to know that your audience for one, right? And who's spending the money, right?
Yes.
It's mom spending the money.
Yes.
Right? We all know this. And so you gear it towards the mom, right? You theme it for the children, but you gear it towards the parents, right? And that's why the adults are liking those feature films, because there's something for everybody in them, right?
Yeah.
And they can enjoy it. And in some cases, there's a question within the film where the kid has to turn to the parent and ask, what's that about?
Yeah.
Right? And that's programmed in. That's scripted.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of control in writing scripts, but I tell you, the good stuff takes time. Mm-hmm. And you gotta be by yourself, and you gotta be in a dark room, and you gotta think, how would she react to that based on how I know her? And like right now, I'm making a comic book for kids, and it's about blueberries. And I've been in this world, this make-believe world, since June.
Yeah.
Right, and it's in my head, and I know these characters now.
Yeah.
Right, and I know how they'd react if you asked them a question, or anybody would.
Right.
Right, and you just have to lose yourself in that. So, I mean, Tasha, my fiance, she says, sometimes you're not based in reality. And I'm like, well, that might be so, but it's kind of my job not to be.
Right. Absolutely.
I take my life experiences, and then I take how people react and how I think they would react, and then I put that into the cartoon. Mm-hmm. Because that graphical association is the viewer is expecting a certain reaction, right? Mm-hmm. And so I got to make sure it's the correct one.
Because we get very lost in the characters, right?
can.
Like
Or-
whatever they are, you get very
Immersed.
connected.
Yes, you do.
Right?
You do get connected.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're invested in them. And
Yeah.
you want to see them do well.
Yeah.
Or you want to see
absolutely.
them fail. One of the two.
Whatever it is.
That's
yeah.
right.
So
That's right.
cool what you do.
I know.
And animation projects really take a lot of collaboration behind the scenes. Can you share any of your behind the scenes stories?
Oh my goodness.
Like just a couple of PG.
I don't know, man. There's some nasty stuff.
Roger's PG version.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a whole bunch, because I tell you, we work largely in silos, right? But my crew and I, we do share an office, and we've had to do our own voices before, which is fun.
Fun.
Really fun.
Yeah.
And we've built ourselves a sound stage and a little hot box, we called it, where we would go inside, and there would be a microphone and a light, and it would be a high wattage light that would really heat up the little space, but we would be in there sweating and doing all sorts of voices and stuff.
Could we ever do one for you?
Oh, I'm sure.
I could do this.
Yeah.
I could talk like.
Can you do it with every emotion possible?
I could do it.
Do you have
She
the
can,
range?
for sure.
You
Well,
got the
with my
range?
acting background, I think I
she
could.
can,
You
for sure.
bring me in there, and I'll show you what I've got.
Well, we have to find the right script.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, she absolutely can, for sure. But talk to me, I guess, a little bit about your process in. So you get whatever it is, the job that you're going to do. Like, how long does it take you? Like, do you have to sit in on your own in a dark space really for a bit and
I
say?
sit at home at my kitchen table for a long periods of time, right? And I require it.
Yeah.
I require it. So I'm thankful that like I'm a single dad who has kids 1 week and off.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I need that week in solitude.
Yeah.
Right. And my crew's the same way.
Yeah.
That's why we the first week of every month we work from home. And we don't work Fridays, so we can have extended time.
Yeah.
Right? And we have time to recharge, because as a creative, you have to breathe out before you can breathe in.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
you gotta,
And do you find some days you work all night because you're so lost in it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I worked till 3 a.m. last
I
night.
can just, it looks this great. He reminds me of Johnny Depp. You look like Johnny Depp. You know,
That's a good. That's
better
a good compliment.
reputation, I hope.
Yeah, well, maybe.
We only have a couple of minutes left, so in the last two, what would you say to any aspiring people out there, young or old, that it's in their blood, they feel, to be an animator and do what you're doing? And you know, you've started, like I said, you've done this since way back when, and then we're following your parents around Disney World. But what would you say to those people that say, I'd love to do that?
Just don't give up.
Just don't give up.
Don't give up. Like I have sacrificed just about everything I could to stay in this thing. Right? And to stay in it here, which is, you know, I could be a big fish in a bigger city.
You sure could.
But I'm going to stay here, and it's because I want it to be here for a long time.
Oh, I love it.
Right? So now we have a studio, now we have a college, you know, that teaches this stuff, and if I keep hustling, and now we have another animation producer. Actually, there's 2 of us here in Miramichi. The only 2 animation producers in the entire province are here.
I did not
Right.
know that.
I
Only
didn't
2
know
in
that
the
either.
province.
Yeah, Tara Audibert,
Yes,
Jessica
of course.
Beckett, and myself, our,
I know
our
her,
showrunners.
Tara.
There's 3 of us. Yeah.
She's pretty amazing.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
something, you know, I'll give you, Jean, is that for as long as I've known you, and I've known you a lot of years now, is that you always wanted it to be here.
It's got to be.
Like,
It's
that came right from your soul.
Yeah, it's got to be here.
Yeah.
We're
And that's
so glad to
amazing.
have you here.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's the only way to really get noticed.
Yeah.
Right? And the way that I hustle here, like, to make it in this business, you got to be on the phone. You got to have 30 calls a day. Right? As a sales guy.
Yeah.
Right? And I haven't, thankfully, had to do that in about 10 years
Right.
because I did that for 10 years
Yeah,
prior.
That's
Yeah.
right. No, you've
right?
got it together.
So now we have word of mouth, but I think it's about time to get back on the horn.
That's
and
amazing.
Keep on
What a
hustling.
beautiful thing to build up your life and your own business, Lugaroo and cartoons and games. So I just want to say that it's been a pleasure, as you've all enjoyed, I'm sure, Jean Fowler and Veronique, thanks for joining in with me today. It's going to be your turn next week to co-host.
Yeah.
To all of our viewers, stay tuned for more Have a Chat next week. We will be back again, and thank you. Have a wonderful Halloween and a great safe week ahead. Goodbye and take care.